Three people have been stripped of their Taiwanese citizenship after being found to hold Chinese IDs. Sign language interpreters go missing from government live streams due to budget cuts. Travel rush is underway in Taiwan as people hit the road for the Lunar New Year holiday. Plus, meet Taiwan's national men's ice hockey team, aiming to net respect at next month's Asian Winter Games. Good evening and welcome to TaiwanPlus News. I'm Eric Gao. Taiwan has revoked the citizenship of 3 people, including a high-profile taekwondo athlete, after they were found to carry Chinese ID cards. There's been growing concern that Beijing is issuing these IDs to Taiwanese citizens as a strategy to push its claim over Taiwan. Rick Lau reports.
So at least 2 of the 3 people who have had their citizenship revoked were recently featured in a documentary in which they were showing off that they had obtained Chinese identification documents. One person has been named as Li Dongxian. He's a famous taekwondo athlete, and when he won a medal representing Taiwan, he pulled out a Chinese flag. Another has been named as Su-wei, whilst the third person has not been named. But this documentary showed how the Chinese Communist Party has been aiming to get Taiwanese to obtain Chinese documents, for example, by making visitors apply for them when they arrive. And this is all part of efforts to influence Taiwan society. But under Taiwan law, having household registration or a passport from China, which of course claims Taiwan as part of its sovereign territory, can mean that your citizenship is revoked like this.
以上是台湾身份，基本上我们就把你当成大陆人了。回到台湾，你就是要拿这个大陆的相关的文件来申请，才能够进来。那你的当然也不会有健保。
Cases like this are fairly rare. There's been just over 600 in the last 10 years. It is, of course, really hard for Taiwan to investigate these cases. There's no official communication across the strait. There's no way for Taiwan to work with counterparts in Beijing. And security services here have been flagging the danger of Taiwanese obtaining Chinese IDs, saying that it could compromise the jurisdiction of Taiwan. For China, of course, the more Taiwanese that have Chinese identifications helps to bolster their claims over Taiwan, and it could be used to justify more measures against Taipei. China has many tools that it uses to intimidate or influence Taiwan, whether it's economic coercion, doing military drills near Taiwan, cognitive warfare, or trying to influence local politicians here. Those tactics are constantly evolving and changing, and that could be what we're seeing here. Klein Wang and Rick Lauert in Taipei for TaiwanPlus.
A former Nantou County Council member has had her service nullified by the Interior Ministry nearly 2 years after stepping down. And this is due to her Chinese citizenship. Now, this case shows the unique position of Chinese citizens who are naturalized here in Taiwan and their ability to participate in politics here. Chris Gorn brings us this special report.
Hsieh is a former councillor for Nantou County in central Taiwan. A member of the opposition Kuomintang, she finished her term in 2022, so she was surprised last month when she received a notice nullifying her government service.
可是我当时接到这个，我是觉得蛮错愕的，因为从我自身来讲，我现在也不是公职啊，我也不是议员的身份啊。那内政部做这样一个行政命令，到底是想要表达什么？什么意思？
The reason? She was born in China. Having married a Taiwanese citizen and living in Taiwan for decades, she's a naturalized citizen here. But she has never renounced her Chinese citizenship. She's one of the more than 380,000 mainland Chinese spouses in Taiwan. Hsieh says they face discrimination, both in society and in politics. A Taiwanese law known as the Nationality Act requires that in order to serve in public office, no other nationalities can be held. Taiwan's Vice President Bi-khim Hsieh, for example, is one of several politicians who renounced their U.S. citizenship upon entering politics. But for those with Chinese citizenship, it's not that simple. The question of whether mainland spouses can serve in Taiwan public office isn't just about immigration or the rights of naturalized citizens. It also cuts to the core of one of the biggest questions in Taiwanese society, one that decades of law and precedent have failed to fully answer. Are China and Taiwan different countries? It's widely known that the People's Republic of China, or PRC, claims Taiwan as its territory. But on paper, at least, it's a two-way street. Taiwan's official name is the Republic of China, or ROC. The ROC used to rule all of China before losing the Chinese Civil War. And some argue the area known as mainland China and beyond are still its territory. That means that under Taiwanese law, those living in China are not in a separate country, but are part of the ROC's mainland area, while the actual territory controlled by the ROC is referred to as the Taiwan area or the Free Area. A special arrangement is laid out in a law that governs relations between the two sides, the Cross-Strait Act.
Under that act, it's like it is a special law that is tailor-made for the mainland people. So the Nationality Act will not trigger to the mainland people. And when we see what is stated under the Cross-Strait Act, it only said that if you stay in Taiwan for 10 years, you can be a public official. But like from now on, for the case of Hsieh, they just consider the nationality law become the foundation law.
But Hsieh and her supporters say the government is moving the goalposts.
从始至终，两岸交流30几年，没有要求放弃国籍的问题，不存在这种东西啊。内政部政府为什么没有跟我要求你要提供放弃国籍，而是我做了公职，然后又卸任2年之后再做这个动作，那就很明显，这就是一个政治阴谋啊。
And she says the timing of the decision is intentional.
那直接的，因为当时就是大家都知道，民众党有提名一个陆配李珍秀来做这个不分区立委嘛，他可能要面临着今年还是明年，我不确定啊，要递补。那是不是因为阻挡他的递补？
That party list candidate is Li Zhenxiu. Like Hsieh, Li is originally from China, but has lived in Taiwan for more than 30 years. She's raised 5 children here and is now a devout Christian.
认为说是上帝的安排啦。我觉得有我这样一个在大陆出生，来到台湾30年，如果有机会进到国会，我觉得对两岸都是一个很好的机会。
The Taiwan People's Party, or TPP, has Li in line to take over as a legislator next year, when its incumbents step down. But it's unclear if she would be able to take office if the new requirement stands. Also unclear whether China would allow someone like Li to renounce their citizenship, even if they wanted to.
都不承认对方是一个国家，这就很为难。不是我们不想要放弃，是务实上我没办法放弃。
China does have a process for renouncing citizenship, but one requirement is having settled abroad.
China will never say Taiwan is a foreign country. So it is, I think, theoretically and practically, that is almost impossible for them to renounce their PRC citizen.
Taiwan's Mainland Affairs Council, which handles cross-strait relations, has defended the citizenship requirement, stating that whether other countries allow their citizens to renounce or not is not something they can comment on. The Interior Ministry has stated that it is not targeting mainland spouses, just enforcing the law based on the principle of preventing what they call conflicts of loyalty, something Li and Hsieh reject.
那我在就任的时候，一定也是对着中华民国的宪法宣誓，纳税老百姓在养我，给我薪水，我一定是忠于中华民国，这个不是问题。
The controversy has forced Hsieh and Li to question their own sense of identity.
我从我自己本身，我就从来没有想过要那样做，对，也没有去了解过，对。那两岸的现在的状态的一个部分，以我们陆配来讲，我觉得一个是娘家，一个是婆家，对我来讲就是中国人，对呀，我们希望两边都好。
我到后面其实对大陆的了解没有很多。那我认为我在台湾，你看我每一个人，我自己小老百姓，我可以创业，我可以从政，我没有任何的恐惧。我觉得这个是台湾最珍贵的地方，然后也是因为大家应该要好好守护的，就是这个民主体制。
Hsieh has filed court proceedings against the Interior Ministry's decision, the result of which will be critical for Li as well. As Taiwan continues to struggle with its cross-strait identity, the political futures of hundreds of thousands of mainland spouses are stuck in limbo. Ryan Wu, Ed Moon, and Chris Gorin for TaiwanPlus.
Taiwan's Coast Guard has boarded a Mongolia-flagged cargo ship to investigate its unusual movements. Members of the public monitoring open source website Marine Traffic had pointed out that the ship was following an unusual route and reported it. The Coast Guard boarded the vessel off Taiwan's southwest coast, but did not discover any suspicious equipment that could be used to cut undersea cables. This comes after another Chinese vessel severed an undersea communications cable off northern Taiwan early this month. The incident prompted authorities to step up surveillance around submarine cable sites. Taiwan's economy grew 4.3% in all of 2024, the fastest growth in 3 years. For the final quarter of the year, the Government Statistics Bureau says Taiwan's economy grew by 1.84% year on year, almost 3% slower than the growth rate recorded between July and September. But exports increased in the fourth quarter, driven by demand for artificial intelligence. Hearing impaired advocacy groups have raised concerns after a government live stream aired without a sign language interpreter. Now, this comes amid clashes between political parties after opposition-led budget cuts. Wesley Lewis reports.
A routine live stream from Taiwan's highest administrative body, the Executive Yuan, is now causing a public uproar. Missing from the screen, the long customary sign language interpreter.
我们平常院会后记者会在这绿幕前面都会有手语老师，但是因为新传出预算被全数删除，所以我们真的请不起手语老师了。对听众朋友，我们也是真的很抱歉。
And that's exactly what this message on screen stated. Where the sign language interpreter would have normally been, the administrative organ, led by the ruling DPP party, instead said that one couldn't be hired because of sweeping budgets spearheaded by the opposition parties in the legislature. Cuts that the opposition says targets unnecessary spending.
我们砍掉是政府官员他们拿去这个特支费，他们出国旅行费用以及他大内宣跟大外宣费用，这不是人民所需要跟必要的。人民真的需要的社会福利，我们一项都没有删，完全都保留好。
The government leaving out the sign language interpreter from this live stream prompted an angry response from the deaf community.
这我不能接受，因为我觉得这攸关我们聋人对国家大事、政策等等的了解。对我们来说是最基本的，这么基本的资讯平权，连这么基本的需求都被砍，真的很奇怪。
But this is just the latest in what's becoming a political tug of war, with the KMT-led opposition bloc holding a majority in the legislature. They have the power to check the ruling DPP, led by President Lai Ching-te. The cuts also impact the military, media, and the utilities.
I mean, the KMT is it's kind of in their DNA to oppose just about everything that the DPP does. So without any other tools, this is the one way they're going to get the Lai administration actually to pay attention to them.
As this political rivalry persists, caught in between is the Taiwanese public, with groups now like the hearing impaired feeling like the politicians aren't protecting their interests. Patrick Chen and Wesley Lewis for TaiwanPlus.
President Lai Ching-te has set new carbon reduction goals for Taiwan. Speaking at a meeting of the National Climate Change Committee, he specified reduction targets of about 32% in 2032 and 38% in 2035.
或许有人会觉得太少，有人会觉得太多，但是我们是负责任的盘点计划，务实提出目标。
Some environmental groups at the committee meeting called for stricter, more ambitious targets. Greenpeace called on the government to commit to zero growth in the use of natural gas beginning this year and to completely phase out coal power plants by 2035. Other environmentalists say that the country needs to work faster to meet its targets.
2035要减到52%，才有办法是符合近邻方面的路径。
And due to a 70% budget freeze on the presidential office, the 12 committee members agreed to waive their fees. The Lunar New Year travel season is already underway here in Taiwan, with crowds packing the country's airports and rail stations. There are some efforts to keep the annual chaos under control, but for the next couple of weeks, people who are hitting the road should be prepared for long waits and possibly even some last-minute change of plans. John Van Trieste reports.
The Lunar New Year break doesn't officially start until Saturday, but this crowd of travelers hasn't waited. For many, this is a popular, if pricey, time to do some sightseeing or shopping abroad. But as everyone who travels this time of year knows, it's important to hit the road early to beat the traffic, and for air travelers, the seemingly endless security lines. At Taiwan's main international airport in Taoyuan, some people are even arriving half a day before their flights. The airport metro line alone expects to carry an average of 145,000 passengers a day over the coming 9 days of vacation. Those traveling domestically will face an even bigger crush. This is a time of year for visiting family and hometowns, and trains especially fill up to bursting. The rail network is trying to cope by increasing services. Meanwhile, the high-speed rail has a new strategy. Last year, there was some unpleasantness on this fast line linking Taiwan's main cities along the west coast as people squeezed in and competed for non-reserved seats. And this year, the line expects to carry over 1.3 million passengers during the break. So if crowds start to overflow this year, it will encourage passengers to use slower trains or buses instead. It's setting up a center in Taichung Station, roughly the halfway point on the line, that will direct passengers to other transport options. Some travelers think it's a good idea. But giving up on the fast train could mean adding hours onto the journey, especially with traffic on the highways. And so some are skeptical of the plan.
乘客会愿意吗？会愿意就是你的指挥，然后就去搭其他的交通工具嘛？因为有可能有的其他交通工具会搭比较久。
It will be early February before things return to normal in the skies and on the rails and roads. Until then, travelers can expect lines, jams, and the need for an extra bit of patience on their journey. Luffy Li and John Van Trieste for TaiwanPlus.
Taiwan's cross-party delegation that went to U.S. President Donald Trump's inauguration is calling their visit a success.
新政府的官员没有包括没有包括我们新的，我们要开始展开新的接触跟新的对话。名字我们不方便说，台美之间的这些主要的官员，那我们都获得非常好的深入的交换意见。对新的一些主管亚洲事务的官员。
Legislative Speaker Han Kuo-yu led the group of lawmakers, and he shared that he stood just 25 meters away from Trump at the inauguration, which had reduced capacity after a last-minute move indoors due to cold temperatures. Lawmakers also discussed double taxation relief, cooperation in the pharmaceutical and AI industries, and educational exchanges when they met with their U.S. counterparts. The delegation visited 2 major U.S. think tanks on the last day of their trip. Japan has raised its interest rates to their highest level since 2008. The Bank of Japan raised rates to 0.5%, following 2 hikes in March and July of last year. The move comes as Japan has exceeded its inflation target for over 2 years now, with prices and wages steadily rising. It also comes after decades of effort from the central bank to pull the economy out of deflation. But still, Japan's economy has struggled to grow, and economists say raising interest rates is a good move to spur growth. The 2025 Asian Winter Games is set to kick off in Harbin, China next month. Our reporter Sandy Chi went to see how Taiwan's national men's ice hockey team is training for the Games, where they will start the campaign as definite underdogs.
Speed, power, and determination. This is Taiwan's national men's ice hockey team, gearing up for the Asian Winter Games that will get underway in Harbin, China next month. The 20 players, aged 19 to 35, are set to face off against some of the top teams in Asia, including Kazakhstan, South Korea, Japan, and the host, China. Realistically, Team Taiwan does not expect to win any medals, but they are aiming to gain valuable experience, as well as earn the respect of their opponents.
我希望这些年轻球员可以学到，看到更高 level 等级的球队怎么打球，然后给他们更多的启发。因为我本身也是在4-5年前参加这个比赛的时候获得一些启发，然后进而我也到国外才有机会到国外打球。3打2，你在射这种球是什么意思？要快一点，换快点，你们要专心一点。
The national men's ice hockey team was formed in 2007 and currently ranks 40th in the world, behind Asian countries that have the advantage of having more snow than subtropical Taiwan. Team captain Ling Hongru has been playing ice hockey for almost 2 decades. Ling says the sport is not that popular in Taiwan, and the government does not devote enough resources to its development.
我们只有一个标准的小巨蛋，那还有其他的项目，像花式啊、竞速、像冰石湖等等的，就是冰雪项目的都会用同一个场地。那在场地分配的话，我们用的时间就也有限。
Currently, the national team has access to the venue for just around 2 hours per week, with some players traveling long distances from other cities to attend training sessions, including Captain Ling.
我还要从台中上来台北，那我这样来回开车就会4个小时。但是就是因为为了这个目标嘛，所以就是要努力，对，那慢慢去适应，但不能说不影响，一定会有影响。
Despite the challenges, Taiwan has seen the sport develop over the past 10 years. However, there's still a lot of work to be done.
那我们是希望说，再有一座冰场起来，可以再培育更多的冰球选手。那可能希望在5年之内，希望把我们的成绩，把跟中日韩这些成绩拉近一点点。
But despite all the challenges, these players are determined to do what they love and shine out on the rink in Harbin, and win kudos even if they don't win their games.
会遇到这4个亚洲冰球的强国，那我觉得不论结果如何，就是我们想要赢得对手的尊重，对，因为在世界排名真的落差比较大，但也很荣幸能再遇到他们，我们想要看一下，同时也是挑战一下自己，看我们的能耐到哪里。
With the Asian Winter Games set to begin on February 7th, Taiwan's hockey players know they must make the most of the limited time they have on the ice. It's time for them to get their skates on and show their pluck with the puck. Devon Tsai and Sanichi for TaiwanPlus.
Taiwanese tennis star Hsieh and her partner Jelena Ostapenko have advanced to the women's doubles finals at the Australian Open. They defeated Erin Routliffe and Gabriela Dombrovski in the semifinal match on Friday. The championship match is scheduled for Sunday, where the duo will face Taylor Townsend of the U.S. and Katarina Siniakova of the Czech Republic. A victory would secure Hsieh a 2nd consecutive title after winning the mixed doubles last year. After weeks of anticipation, Patricia, Sydney's rare corpse flower, has begun blooming at the Botanical Gardens. Its smell has been described as cat vomit or dead bodies. But as Rosie Granger explains, that stinky reputation is what's drawing people in.
It's a reception worthy of a celebrity. Crowds waiting hours to catch a glimpse of the rare bloom of this corpse flower at Sydney's Botanic Gardens. This spectacle, a long time coming. The endangered Amorphophaphalis titanum only flowers once every few years, and only for 24 hours. This is the first time her bloom has graced Sydney since 2010. Nicknamed Patricia, she's drawn in over 20,000 people to marvel at both her striking appearance and her stench.
It smells a little bit like when there's a dead animal in the house, but you don't know where it is or what it is. It's kind of that smell, like a musty, dead type of smell.
The flower is beautiful. The smell was like hot garbage.
Roses would be ideal, wouldn't it? No, clearly a dead body.
The pungent smell, mimicking its home in the jungle of Indonesia's Sumatra, to attract pollinators. It will take 2 to 3 hours to completely unfurl, when she will reach a temperature of up to 37 degrees Celsius to intensify her scent. Patricia showed signs she would bloom just over 2 weeks ago. Since then, she's grown 1.6 metres. With only 300 estimated to be left in the wild, Workers at Sydney's Botanic Gardens are set to hand-pollinate the flower to produce a seed for the species' survival.
Once it all dies down, we'll harvest that seed and we'll be able to use it and share it with other botanic gardens to grow more of these plants.
Patricia has also become a social media sensation, drawing admirers from across the globe. Almost 1 million people have followed the corpse flower's journey to bloom on a live stream titled A Plant to Die For. Her following coining new acronyms in her honour, including WWTF, We Worship the Flower, and BBTB, Blessed Be the Bloom.
I've been watching Patricia for a week on the live stream non-stop while I'm working. Hope my boss isn't watching this. Just on the live stream on the side, waiting for her to pop open. And I saw her today and I was like, I've got to get into the city. I was at home. I was like, get on the train, I'm going to see her.
Her popularity, scientists say, is great for awareness around conservation efforts.
It's really rewarding to us to see that there is an interest when you have a spectacular plant like this for people to come in, to people to be engaged. It's really rewarding and we try to, talk about the stories around, amazing evolutionary adaptations, the importance of conserving threatened species like this so that they don't go extinct in the wild.
The Botanic Gardens will open their gates until midnight to allow as many people as possible to revel at the corpse flower's bloom, a rarity that may not be seen here again for another decade. Justin Wu and Rosie Greninger for TaiwanPlus.
And thank you for joining us for TaiwanPlus News. If you want more of our news reports on the go, download our app to your mobile device. Finally, we'll leave you with some highlights from Paris Fashion Week. I'm Eric Gao. Take care, and we'll see you next time.
I'm Joyce Sun in Kumamoto, Japan, and you're watching TaiwanPlus News, a voice of freedom in Asia.